No. No, stop that. Give me that. This is not a toy. Sand wasps of the genus Philanthus are found on all continents except South America and Australia. There are about 135 species worldwide and 32 species in North America. The females are predators of other adult hymenopterans, usually bees, giving them the nickname bee wolves. In this video, we will take a closer look at 4 species from eastern North America. Philanthus gibbosus and Philanthus ventilabris are transcontinental, while Philanthus solivagus and Philanthus bilunatus have ranges that do not extend west of the Rocky Mountains. All of them nest in the soil, usually in small aggregations. The story of Philanthus in North America begins in Keay Rd, Germany in 1775, when Johann Fabricius published his Genera Insectrum. In it, he included a description of an American wasp he called Vespa gibbosa. Its modern equivalent, Philanthus gibbosus, is a black wasp with yellow markings. Most of the body is covered with large, deep punctures. Gibbosus is perhaps the most common Philanthus species in North America, and likely has the largest range. It is not surprising then that this was the first American bee wolf described. The males have a similar coat pattern as the females, and they too are covered in deep punctures. Nesting aggregations of gibbosus have been observed in vertical banks, while most other species appear to prefer level or slightly sloping soil. 23 years later, in 1798, after Fabricius had recognized the genus Philanthus from the many European forms in 1790, he included another American species to its list, Philanthus ventilabris. Ventilabris is a sturdy-looking wasp. Its body is heavily punctured like gibbosus, but it is not as glossy. Most species of Philanthus have some black on the face, but the face of both sexes of ventilabris are entirely yellow. Males are very similar to the females. Ventilabris has several distinct features that we will look at later. It appears to have no close relatives, and it ranges across many different environments. Out of only 11 North American sand wasps that Fabricius described, 2 were Philanthus. 47 years after Fabricius created the genus, in North America, Thomas Say, on the banks of the Wabash River in Indiana, described a bee wolf he named Philanthus solivagus. Solivagus is peculiar in that instead of being covered in large, deep punctures, it is covered in many tiny, shallow punctures, giving the body a dull, roughened appearance. The males of Solivagus are very similar to the females. It occurs only in northeastern North America. In 1865, 28 years after Say described Solivagus, Ezra Townsend Cresson, amid the end of the American Civil War, described 7 valid new Philanthus species in his monograph of the whole family in North America. One of his new species was described from 5 males from Massachusetts and Illinois, and he named them bilunatus. This is the female that eluded him. He caught one 14 years later, but described it as a different species. Bilunatus has a fantastically glossy coat. In contrast to the other 3 previous species, it has no punctures on its abdomen. Males are as polished as the females and have highly reflective bodies. Bilunatus ranges across the northeast United States and as far west as North Dakota, Colorado, and New Mexico. 110 years after Bilunatus was described, Richard Bohart and Eric Grissel at the University of California, Davis revised the California species. They provided a key to all North American species as well as descriptive information on the species which occur in California. Eastern species like Bilunatus, Solivagus, and 4 others, Lepidus, Sambornii, Albopilosus, and Politis, are in the Keay, but are not extensively described. It is very useful, however, and available free online, so it should be consulted no matter where you have collected your specimens. Of course, any effort to determine a specimen's identity should start with range maps. Unfortunately, all 4 of these species and a few more have greatly overlapping ranges. Luckily, these 4 species have many unique morphological features that make determination of species an achievable goal. Their lengths are not very revealing. It could be said that solivagus is consistently longer than bilunatus, but that is about all. There is also much variability in size between individuals of the same species. To illustrate how size varies in gibbosus, this is a small female beside a typical female, and this is a small male beside a typical male. Some specimens are slightly larger than typical. The message is that bee wolves come in a fairly wide range of sizes, particularly for gibbosus. Their faces bear many clues to their identity. Gibbosus has a moderately sized spot on its forehead. Ventilabris has so much yellow it extends down the antenna of both sexes. Solivagus has a large spot on its forehead, and bilunatus has only a small yellow mark. Color is not the best feature to use though, so let's move on. Structural features are more reliable, and these 4 species exhibit several. For instance, gibbosus has a swelling at the top of its head in both males and females, but more pronounced in the females. The other species have no such bump. Males have a brush of hairs that partially cover their mandibles. The brush on gibbosus is black, while the brush on ventilabris is yellow. Be advised, it can be difficult to see the yellow clypeal brush against the yellow clypeus of ventilabris. The patterns and texture of their abdomens are very revealing. Gibbosus has what looks to me like an iPad between tergites 2 and 3. Ventilabris appears to have some form of a bird. Solivagus has numerous tiny punctures, giving it a rough appearance, while bilunatus lacks all punctures altogether. Many insects have polished bodies, but bilunatus beats them all. While trying to shade its abdomen with my hand, I noticed the reflection of my fingers in the shot. I took the shot anyway, and then noticed the whole room was captured in the photo. Now, I know it seems like I must have cleaned it, but I didn't. I did nothing to prepare the specimen, and it was 18 years old when I took these images. One last morphological detail worth pointing out is the peculiar pronotal ridge on ventilabris. It has 2 sharp carina and is heavily punctured. Gibbosus and the other species have quite differently shaped pronotal ridges.
Well, that should get you started. Good luck!
As always, a special thanks go to the internet resources that make these videos possible, including the Biodiversity Heritage Library, Discover Life, and Iowa State University's Bug Guide. Look for them online.
Aw, you torn?